What if I told you that one of the most famous guitarists in rock history started out as a quiet schoolboy in Liverpool? Today, we're unlocking the timeline of George Harrison, often called the Quiet Beatle, but his life was anything but quiet. Stick around, because you're about to discover how George helped change music, spirituality, and even the way we think about fame. Born on February 25, 1943, in Liverpool, England, George Harrison was the youngest of 4 children in a working-class family. George's journey into music began at a young age when he developed a fascination with the guitar, inspired by the skiffle music that was sweeping the UK. It wasn't long before George's natural talent began to shine through, and in 1958, a fateful introduction to Paul McCartney led George to join a local band. That band? None other than the Beatles. But George's entry into the Beatles wasn't exactly smooth. At just 15, he was younger than John Lennon and Paul McCartney and had to prove himself not only as a musician but as a member of a group that would soon take the world by storm. His dedication paid off, and by 1962, with Ringo Starr on drums, the Beatles' iconic lineup was complete. The 1960s were a whirlwind for George. As the Beatles skyrocketed to fame with hits like A Hard Day's Night, Help, and Yesterday, George quietly but steadily honed his craft as a guitarist and songwriter. By the time Rubber Soul and Revolver were released, George was starting to make his mark as a composer, contributing songs like If I Needed Someone and Taxman. His unique approach to the guitar added layers of complexity to the Beatles' evolving sound, but there was more to George than just the music. In 1966, George took a trip to India that would change his life. He studied the sitar under the guidance of Ravi Shankar and began a spiritual journey that would define his personal and professional life. George introduced Indian instruments into Western pop music, with tracks like Within You Without You and Love You To, pushing the boundaries of what rock could be. His fascination with Eastern philosophy also made him the first Beatle to embrace transcendental meditation, which quickly influenced the rest of the band. Yet, behind the scenes, George was growing frustrated. By 1968, tensions within the Beatles were escalating. While John and Paul continued to dominate songwriting, George felt sidelined despite creating some of his best work during this period, including While My Guitar Gently Weeps. It wasn't until the release of Abbey Road in 1969 that George truly got the recognition he deserved, with masterpieces like Something and Here Comes the Sun standing among the Beatles' finest. After the Beatles broke up in 1970, George wasted no time in pursuing a solo career. His debut solo album, All Things Must Pass, was a critical and commercial success, featuring the hit single, My Sweet Lord. This triple album revealed George as a musical force in his own right, blending rock, spirituality, and folk influences to create something timeless. The album's title track reflected George's enduring optimism despite the end of the Beatles, a belief that nothing, good or bad, lasts forever. But George wasn't content to just stay in the studio. In 1971, he organized the Concert for Bangladesh, one of the first major benefit concerts in history, raising awareness and funds for refugees affected by the Bangladesh Liberation War. The event set the stage for future charity concerts like Live Aid and cemented George's role as a pioneer in using music for social change. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, George continued to release solo albums, though with mixed success. His passion for racing cars, his involvement in film production, as co-founder of Handmade Films, and his ongoing spiritual journey kept him busy. But by the late 1980s, George was ready for a comeback. He joined forces with Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, and Roy Orbison to form the supergroup the Traveling Wilburys, proving once again that he could still innovate and surprise the music world. As George entered the 1990s, his focus shifted more toward family and personal projects, though he occasionally returned to the public eye. Tragically, in 1997, George was diagnosed with throat cancer, and after a long battle, he passed away on November 29, 2001, at the age of 58. Yet even in death, George's impact on music, culture, and spirituality has only grown. So, what do you think? Was George Harrison truly the Quiet Beatle, or was his influence much louder than most of us realize? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into George Harrison's life, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more celebrity timelines, and click the bell icon to stay updated on future videos. Until next time, this has been Timelines Unlocked. Thanks for watching.